Hello and welcome back to episode 23 of the Making It podcast. And we are back for another podcast. I'm sorry, my laptop keeps slanting. We are back for another episode, 23 episodes in total. And it's been a massive week. I'm here with Dan. Dan, it's good to speak to you again, mate, because it feels like every time we spoke, it's been pretty delayed. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. You're in Australia now. It's
I'm
finally
there.
happened. I'm good.
Still
I've had a haircut today. I've been to the gym,
looking
and then
fresh.
I've got work tonight. Apologies to the listeners that this has come a day later, but Jay's away, so we got to move things about sometimes. But Jamie, how does it feel to finally be in Australia?
After that plane journey, man, it's a blessing. There was nothing wrong with it. It's just, even though I've done it before, I forgot how long it was. Um, and I made the silly decision of, having beers on the plane with these two guys. These two young lads came and sat next to me, and they're like, "Oh, I'm this person and this person," and they were like, "Do you drink?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I drink, sure." And they were like, "How do you fancy getting finished on this flight?" And I don't know about getting like really bad, but they were like, "Come on, let's just do it." They were out, mate. They were out cold, both of them, like hands down like that. And I think I had like 4 or 5 beers, and I'm like, I'm gonna kick it. Like I'm just done now. So I left that, and then that was our 6 hours flight done. We got to Qatar. We all went and had some Burger King. Bad idea. It was horrible. And then we went to get the next flight. They went to go to Thailand, obviously, so we went our own ways. But the heat in Qatar, man, is insane. It was so hot. It's like the driest heat I've ever felt. But nice airport. And then I went to go and get my own flight, which was solo. I didn't feel like that was a solo flight. Do you know what I mean? Because I'd met them and we'd
Mm.
almost become mates just through that. So it's amazing who you meet just in the first 5 minutes of being on a plane. And for someone like me that talks, it's not difficult. So we did that flight, and then I had a 14-hour flight to Sydney. Both seats next to me were free, so I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to sit over all 3 of them." I did, so I just laid on all 3 seats. Had a few hours kip, got woken up for breakfast, and before you knew it, I had 2 hours. So I literally just spent the next 2 hours watching the flight map and listening to music. Got to Sydney. There was another flight, so I sat down for 2 hours, looked at the wall, and just listened to music. But at this point, I'm just greasy. I'm just horrible. I just look like a gremlin, mate. And then flight to Gold Coast, and my mum's friend picked me up. So I left the UK at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, and I got to Australia at to where I'm now at 10:30 on Tuesday night. So Monday night.
Monday night, yeah.
Which obviously in the UK would have been like, I don't know, like 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
How was your first day?
It's not really existed. I'll be honest, it's not really existed because I slept from 2 a.m. this morning to 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. And then sundown was at like 4:30. So I had 2 hours of sunlight, and then I'm like falling asleep again. It's weird, but it's been good though. My mum's friend was here, and she went to go and see some friends that are moving to Indonesia tomorrow. Because obviously, like people in the UK move to Benidorm or whatever, these guys just move to like Lombok or Bali, or it's crazy. But then she said, "Do you want to cook food?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I had no clue how to do it, but we ended up with roasted veg and salmon. So I was pretty pleased with myself. We had a bit of food, music, and then obviously I've gone to bed now. So and then this guy called Dan got me up to do a podcast. So, but no, it's been all right.
It's good to hear how you've been getting on, man. I mean, sounds like an interesting journey to get there. Now, something which kind of relates to, we spoke about it in the pre-chat. I know you love your pre-chat. But something I thought about recently this week was sometimes, maybe I do my weekly plan for the week, right? And I'm thinking like, oh, what am I doing that day? What am I doing this day? And sometimes I find myself maybe like thinking a bit too much about what I'm doing each day. And then I kind of want to find that balance of like planning it, but then also just like going with the flow sometimes. And obviously you're in Australia now, so your life is probably going to be like going with the flow for quite a bit.
Yeah.
Now I want you to kind of contrast it to when you're at home, because I know you like to know what you're doing and stuff. And I think it's important that you do plan your weeks and you plan your days. But how do you find that sort of balance of planning and living?
Well, obviously I'm only a day in, so like it's still. I could tell you that today was amazing because I just relaxed and didn't really do a lot and just chilled. But at the same time, if that was every day, I know I'd become sick of it, you know. So this is a honeymoon period for me being here. How I'll feel tomorrow is not how I'll feel today. But the nice thing, and I said it to you in pre-chat, was that I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Like, I've got a brief idea, like we're going to go and watch my mum's mate's kid play football. But other than that, I'm waking up in the morning and then what? Like, I've got nothing really to do. I've answered my emails that I need to answer. A couple of little things I need to do for the end of the week, and I've got to start getting the YouTube channel up and going and stuff, which is, a challenge because of the timings and stuff. But other than that, it's been nice to kind of not have to think about, I've got to do this day, that day. I've got no ground commitments just yet. Obviously, as time goes on, it will, come. But in terms of the balance, there isn't really one yet. It is literally just been just sleep.
You're starting coaching, aren't you?
I'm starting coaching, I think, tomorrow. I think the weather's been really bad, really, really bad. Like, luckily the daytime's super nice, sunny, and then it gets a bit darker, and then it just goes crap. Last night it was really bad thunder. I was on the toilet, and I remember just hearing something like thud. I was like, God, is someone breaking in? I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. It's my first day, and someone's breaking in. And then the next thing you just hear is massive crash, and it's the thunder. So, hopefully coaching tomorrow. Definitely watching a game. And sorting these bloody raspberry stained joggers out because my mum's mate's kid, because I've not seen him for so long now. The first thing he thought of doing was throwing a raspberry at me, so I thought that was funny. I'm covered in it now. So, but yeah, no, just trying to find out what the week's going to start looking at. It's almost like finding something and slowly kind of dusting it away.
Yeah.
And discovering a little bit more about it. That's how I'm discovering how my week's
It's exciting, man. It's exciting to see where your journey takes you. And as a good friend of yours, I can't wait to see it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with when Jay's away and stuff. And I'd probably say to you as well, like, try not to get too sucked into feeling like you have to film everything and, put everything on Jay's away, because you could very easily fall into that trap. And that kind of aligns a little bit with what I was saying about planning and living. And I think a lot of the time, okay, I plan my weeks, and then but what you've got to understand is that plan isn't always gonna stay. Things change in life, and life's unpredictable. So I think for me, sometimes I find like I'm thinking about, okay, well, how's my day gonna go? But sometimes it's just, okay, have like you say, brief idea, and then kind of go with it and see where it takes you. I think a lot of the time we want to kind of know what's going on, but it's kind of being comfortable with the fact that your day sometimes has to pull you along rather than you kind of taking your day as it comes. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes I just worry a bit too much and think, oh, is it going to work out in that way, or will my plan go right in that day, or will it all look like that? Will I be able to fit everything in? But sometimes it's just, Dan, just live it. Just live it.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm intrigued to see what Australia is going to be like for you, because it's almost going to be a bit like you just live in it. And as a friend, I kind of want to see you just live it. It's like you told me how someone at NHR was telling you try not to do too much NHR when you're out there. Probably for you, mate, being out in Aussie right now, you've got that great opportunity right now for the next year or so just to take your life as it comes, bro. Because you're in Australia. Yeah. Nothing needs to be regimented. And sometimes maybe we do live a life which is a bit too regimented. We live too much for a structure. Yes, it's important to have a plan, but sometimes you just got to live.
You do. And I didn't really know how I was going to feel with this, because I still feel like I'm on holiday, because I've been on holiday for a while and I've never felt, I don't feel different to like when I came here last time. The thing that's going to set in is when I start realizing that the people I see most of the time aren't around me, So even when I had the operation, it was a couple of weeks of not really doing a lot. It's like that, but on steroids. You know what I mean? People that my family are just not there at all. And it really broke my heart when I had to say goodbye to my mum and my grandma, especially my grandma, because like I could see her crying, and I hate going away and seeing my grandma like waving. That just broke me. So I did cry, and then I cried again when I was on the plane, because I was just like, I'm alone. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm somewhere over Indonesia now. I can't go home. But that's when the other side kicked in. Like it flipped, and it went, well, what can you do about it now? Like I always come back to it, because it's like, what can I honestly do? I can't say to the pilot, all right, mate, you got enough fuel just to knock it back a few knots and just turn us around. I'll direct you if you want. I know the way back. Or Or do I kind of just go, right, let's just get this flight done and let's just get there, sleep, see how I feel? Because I'm never going to decide to go home in this day, 2 days, first few weeks, first few months. That ain't going to happen. How the next year goes, I don't know, but I know like this is all right. I feel okay. Sorry to interrupt, but we've got something to tell you. It's Jamie here,
And Daniel here.
and we are from the Making It podcast because you're listening to that right now. Please give us a follow on Spotify and click the notification button because we want you to keep listening and we hope that you're enjoying our content.
And follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and Facebook, all at Making It Poddy.
And drop us an email, makingitpoddy@gmail.com. Enjoy the episode and we'll see you soon.
Enjoy.
And, you know, before we get onto the work situation, I think with family, I don't know if it's really setting properly, as I say, but I'm in the firm mindset of I'm actually excited that I don't know what tomorrow holds. And I'm excited about the challenge because I was worried that I'm just going to be really scared about the challenge. But, having even met new friends when I've been in Australia, shout out to a guy called Blade because met him on the bus and he helped me get into the next airport and stuff. And he was great. And just meeting new people every day that have no idea who I am. I don't know who they are. And it's like a new book. Do you know what I mean? You're opening new books and you're not reading it all at once. You're kind of opening the first chapter to everyone's book. And as you kind of go around Australia, you kind of get to know them a bit more. Or maybe you just read the first chapter, you accept it and kind of throw the book away. That's just what kind of is like meeting people. But I think, as you say, it does give me a good opportunity to kind of experience life in a different form and also experience a much slower life because I speak to people here and they say, well, I really enjoyed being in the UK because it was a bit faster and I was kind of sick of being in the slower life. And I think, wow, it's mad that someone can have that different mentality. But
yeah, that's
we
interesting.
are a product of our environment, But I was going to ask you about, because you've been home now for a little bit. I know you went to go and see your granddad and I'm kind of keen to know more about your experience living in a tent, Dan, to be honest. But as well as the tent experience, what's it been like kind of being back at home? Because you're here for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's almost felt a little bit like the past couple of weeks have been a bit of like a transition period from me going from Newcastle to being home. Because the best way to kind of describe my life in Newcastle is Newcastle has been this great opportunity for me. I've started to build a really nice life that I really love up there. Some new friends that I made up there who I can call my close mates now, and new opportunities like my coaching and people who like Stephen and Michael, at the football, people that I've met like Derek, and it's just like it feels like there's so much to learn out there. And coming back home, it's like, okay, what do I want to do when I'm home? And for the past couple of weeks, I've just been relaxing. I've been taking it easy because I feel like I needed that kind of going with the flow, like we say, and not planning much. But now I feel like I'm transitioning to actually like being back at home and having things on and doing different bits and bobs and stuff. And it's nice. It's nice to be back home. And I feel like I've settled back into being here now. What I do want to do, and I was speaking to my girlfriend about it, I want to kind of build some connections up at home. Because I feel like all my connections are in Newcastle when it comes to sports psychology or coaching. And over summer, I kind of want to see who I can kind of build connections with here. Because I don't want Newcastle to be the only land of opportunity. Do you know what I mean? I want to see home in a new light. Because I've spoke about it on the podcast before. I feel like coming home, I feel like I'm taken away from that opportunity. But there's plenty of opportunities here. Do you know what I mean? It's just about finding them, like we say, actively searching. So I've enjoyed being home so far. It's been great to be with my family and just spend some time at home with them, and going to my granddad's was good fun. But now I feel like I'm back in home life now for the next 4 months, and I want to just enjoy it. I want to see friends, I want to see family, but I also want to see what can I do this summer to build a bit of a network in Nottingham, or meet some people who are into sports psychology around Nottingham. So I don't just feel like Newcastle is the only place where I have that. It's finding that new love for home, finding a new excitement for home, which is what I'm trying to do. But I've been enjoying it so far. It's been nice to see faces and stuff. And, it's going to be different with you not being at home because obviously you're now in Australia and I'm used to seeing you at the pub and knocking about. But, I'm excited for home. I feel like I'm finding a new love for home.
And you need to, because home will always be home, no matter what people say. Because one thing people have said to me now is, we don't think you're going to come back, which is crazy because I don't think they understand how much I like home life. I know I'm saying that from the perspective of someone that's been here one day, but I love home. more than any place. That's, it's where I'm comfortable, and nothing will detract from that. I just think it is. I don't want to say it because I'm not going to say what I was just going to say because it's something that your auntie would have, in a
Say it,
living room.
say it,
I'm not
say it.
saying home is where the heart is and all that crap. I don't believe in it. But
You're saying it's true.
But unfortunately, yes, it is true. I'm just not going to get that in my living room on a picture. Sorry. But just, yeah, I think people need to embrace home. And obviously, from a career perspective, you should, because you're going to feel most comfortable where you are. And if you can make a career where you're comfortable, then I think that you're doing pretty good. If you're comfortable where your career is and vice versa, then great. And there's also a lot of sports psychology opportunities in Nottingham, I'm sure, with the amount of football clubs we have, the amount of investment in sports that we have, the amount of investment in education, especially the university. There's so many. Sorry, there's a fly messing about here. But there's so many different avenues you can take just in Nottingham. And I think it is right to not put all your eggs in one basket. I think that's a good thing.
I'm excited to see where life takes us, man. I'm excited to see where life takes all the people around. And I think we've got to try and not lose that excitement in life, because life is exciting, but we can get trapped in a bit of a cycle of life and feeling like everything is just how it is forever in a way. Sometimes maybe you've got a job which you feel like is forever, but I feel like in life sometimes we lose the excitement of what's going on. Like, I feel like it's such a basic thing, but just being alive, I reiterate that quite a lot. But, bro, I want you out there in Australia to be excited.
I'm
I
excited.
want myself to be excited about living life. Like, we're alive, we've got these great opportunities. And I feel like as people, we have a responsibility to keep that life excitement. I want everyone around me to keep excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's one sort of thing that it doesn't take away from that, because maybe it does take away from that, but obviously we are quite young. So I'd say we've been not maybe as we've spoken about struggle before. I don't think we've been in the struggle as much as a lot of adults, because, I speak to adults a lot. I've always been someone that has preferred to have friends that are older than me than my age, because I've grown up in a pub environment, and I think you are open to more mature voices in your life. Not that people our age aren't mature, because there is people I'd consider you very mature, but the one thing I would say that maybe kind of counteracts that is that we've got very lucky. We've got very lucky. I think is one thing I am, very much realizing now is I'm lucky that about many things. I'm lucky I've got a supportive family. I'm lucky that throughout my childhood I've had a supportive family, and I've had a family that have encouraged me to work hard. I'm lucky that there's been companies that have been willing to have me work for them, and to give me the work when I've needed it. And I could list so many things. I'm lucky that I've not been through a relationship that has, really affected me, or I'm just lucky and I'm just grateful. And we record this podcast and we talk a lot about, being positive and stuff. And I do think that there is challenge for a lot of people to be more positive, in their daily life, because
100%, yeah.
as much as we can say, we don't want to do the same stuff every day, because we're young, we don't have to. But, as soon as that sort of responsibility element comes in, or you have kids, or, you have something happen to a family member that's unexpected, all stuff that can happen. We've been very lucky to not have that. So I'm kind of keen to know your thoughts on, how, people that are in a less fortunate position, what potentially they could do, or maybe kind of how you prepare yourself for becoming a little bit older. Because in my opinion, as much as I'm not trying to look forward to too far forward in time, you do have to have an eye on it, even if it's a very slight one. And I would say that being older and having more responsibility is still something that I'm a little bit scared of,
Yeah, I think, listen, I've not experienced having kids. I've not experienced, maybe like you're saying, the people who are in less fortunate positions. So to comment on those things, I don't know if I'm in the best position. I can only base my life and my views and my perceptions off my own experience.
Hmm.
And I have conversations about this quite regularly with Scarlett. From my position, I feel like I've got a positive energy. I feel like I've got a responsibility. And I don't mean that like, oh, it's weighing on my shoulders. I've got to be this person, put this mask on. But because I
Put a
naturally
chosen
have
one
this,
down.
What's that?
You're the chosen one.
But because I know I've got this kind of energy about me, I want to be able to spread that to other people. But what I think I've learned recently is that doesn't mean other people then have to be like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
yeah.
may be going through a struggle that day. They may be in a less fortunate position than me that day. So for me, I've learned it's maybe not trying to get everyone else to have that sort of energy, and why aren't you having that energy, like you're alive and all this stuff. But I feel like if I can have that energy, I'll have that energy, and I'll spread that as much as I can. But that doesn't mean that everyone else has to then embody that energy and have that energy themselves. But it might make them smile that they've seen I've had that energy.
I like that.
Now, my friend Riley once said to me, "I don't know if you've been through a lot of struggle, Dan." And you know what? I understand it. We all have our own struggles, and I've been through struggle just like everyone else has in a different way. But I'm not saying it's a really deep struggle, which probably other people have had. But I go back to what I just said. Understandable. And I have this happy perception of life, which is great. But not everyone else has to have that perception. And I think that's something I've learned recently.
Yeah, and I don't think shout out to Riley, by the way, because I think the conversations we had in Spoons in Newcastle that time was probably one of the best. We could have done a
Very
podcast.
philosophical, wasn't it?
I always mention it. It was one of the best like pub conversations ever, and it is probably the best advert for drinking like a beer and having a chat with lads,
What
or
did
your
we
friends.
talk about again?
It was something Joe Rogan related, and I
All
think
that
it was
sort of
something.
stuff, wasn't it?
I'm sure it was magic mushroom related. And microdosing and stuff. But anyway, there was a lot of cool conspiracy all sort of related stuff. And one thing I'll say about conversations on a quick note is that one thing I like is that people that can disagree harshly and still come out of it, shake each other's hands and have a beer. I love that.
Yeah, I love that
Whatever
too.
drink of your choice. Doesn't have to be a beer, but you know the point, because too many times the people kind of go, this discussion has to be a win-lose situation. And it doesn't. Like, I love having chats with people. We disagree on things all the time, bro. And I wouldn't say it's like all the time, but like we talk about stuff and you'll go, no, I'm not sure I agree on that. Or I'll go, I don't know if I agree with that, Dan. Do you know what I mean? It's
But it's
whether it
good
be
that we can be honest with each other and
yeah,
trying to pick each other's brains in that way. It's good that we can do that, because if I think something you're doing ain't particularly right, or something you feel ain't particularly right, then I'll mention it. Same with you, and we can bounce off each other in that way. I think it's good.
yeah, absolutely. And I think kind of coming back to what you were saying about the positivity thing, I think it is kind of important to, rather than build someone else's house, because I like to think of, how someone is as that house that we kind of spoken about. We spoke about this time ago. Rather maybe you should just give them the instructions to build their own foundation, or not the instructions, but you should say how you built your foundations, and people can just figure it out their own way. Because if people have been through struggle, their happiness is different to our happiness. What makes them happy is different. What makes to make us happy. But by kind of lighting that fire, or just giving them the matchbox, what I mean, you're kind of giving them an inspiration, to feel a bit happier. And it's hard, man. Like, shout out to everyone that works, overnight, that works, through the early morning, throughout the day. Like, shout out to everyone that's going out working hard, man, because they don't get appreciated enough. All of our life is celebrities, paparazzi, all this crap, all this rubbish. And it's the working man, the working person that doesn't get appreciated enough. So shout out to them. I feel like I need to say that. I think it's a
Yeah,
bit
shout
random,
out
so I
to them, man.
apologise. But
Shout out
I
to
just
them.
don't think. I feel like people feel annoyed about a lot of things in their life because they just don't get enough attention that they deserve. They just don't get the pat on the back. So we've always said it on this podcast, but like, if one of your mates is doing something good, man, tell them well done. Like, congratulate them, because people need that. People say, "Oh, I don't do this for attention," but deep down, just that pat on the back and giving them a bit of attention, big boost.
100%, bro. Everyone needs a bit of kudos every now and then.
Of course.
Whenever someone's come up to me and said you're doing a good job, Dan, it's always given me a good kick. It always has.
And you feel good for the day, right? Like, you feel like you want to do it more.
100%, bro. It's inspiring when someone says something like that. When someone can recognize something you're doing as good, I'll always love those sort of comments.
Hmm.
And I'll give you your kudos, brother, because you know, to make that jump and go to Australia, like what you're doing right now, it's massive, man. It's something I'm interested in seeing with your trip out there. Is realistically on holiday. We go on holiday and you kind of get that urge to go back home. Like, I've enjoyed my holiday, but now it's time to go back home. But bro, you're out there for 10 months to a year. Do you know what I mean? Like you're there isn't a chance to go back home. So
There isn't,
that point for me, I'm really interested to see how you manage those challenges. And it's going to be really intriguing to see what you say on this podcast in the next coming months, you know?
the first 2 weeks are going to be pretty like calm because I don't have anything to do. You know, I'm really grateful. And this is to Rebecca, my mum's friend who's put me up. You know, she's getting food. You know, I'm going to try and help out around the house as much as I possibly can because I owe the greatest amount of debt to them. You know, but the first 2 weeks are going to be fairly easy because again, I'm not doing anything. But after that, when I start to get that itch to work again and I start getting emails asking me to do things here and there, you know, and I kind of want to start doing stuff and explore it a bit, then I have to do something about it. But to be honest, I don't really intend on doing a lot, as I say, and I'm excited for the year, a challenge, because I kind of sat down and thought to myself, like, oof, a year is a long time, but then it's not a long time. Like even though it feels like a long time since it was a year since me and Jim went to the San Siro and watched Milan v Salernitana, but then that felt like yesterday. But then I also think, God, that was a long time ago. Like I thought it was longer than a year. You know what I mean? So it's like it's mad how the mind works, and the way that your brain comprehends time is so crazy. You know, because last week felt like yesterday, but now it feels like ages ago. Like I don't really, yeah.
I know, we're already halfway through the year as well, man. I mean, it's crazy.
Already halfway through the year.
Before you know it, you'll be back from Australia.
Well, put it this way, I'm not wishing my time away, you know, and that's one thing I really need to kind of take hold of is that instead of seeing Monday to Friday, like, let's just get through this, I kind of want to say, like, Monday to Friday, like, every time I've been traveling so far, I've always been a bit nervous. If I need to ask a question to ask it, I've always been like, no, I'm just going to leave them to it. They look chill. But I thought, you know what? Okay, no one knows me. No one knows me. So there was this old Irish lady in Qatar, and I went, I think I'm at the wrong gate. And we sat down, and I kind of went to her. I was like, oh, excuse me, you don't mind me asking, are we at the right gate? And she was like, yeah, we're at the right gate. And then she goes, oh, no, we're at the wrong one. We need to be at the one down there. I was like, oh, thank God. Right, let's go over there. And me and her were just talking for half an hour. And I found out she's got kids that live here now, and they've got kids. And she was telling me all about her family. And then we got on the plane and we didn't talk. But it's like I said about kind of opening that first chapter up. I'm never going to know anything more about this woman. Probably won't ever see her again. But like just having the kind of confidence to go, you know, what gate are we at? And then that just starts something massive, you know. So I would say that not even just for someone that wants to go traveling, because I don't think it's fair for me to give advice on that just yet because I'm a day in. But for someone that wants to go traveling or just to experience life a little bit more in its raw form, just kind of speak to someone. If you're a bit nervous to ask that question, just do it because you don't know what that question is going to lead to. You know, like it can lead to anything. You could become best mates with that person. You could marry that person. I didn't have any intentions to marry this old Irish grandma, but she was a lovely person, you know. So yeah, just communicate. I think it's the most important thing in all of life. I think communication.
It's massive, bro. It's
massive, right? It's huge, and it varies person to person. And has there been an experience for you in the last week or 2 weeks where you've met someone new or anything like that?
Not recently, not in the past couple of weeks.
Anytime sort of in the last few months or?
But in terms of conversations and sparking a conversation with someone, there's been some great friends I've made, some great opportunities I've created just from speaking to someone. I'll never forget when I first met my friend at uni, Isaac, and I was working the bar at Red House, and I just felt a spark, you know. He had a big smile on his face, I had a big smile on mine. I was like, oh yeah, like, what you doing? Oh, he's at the uni. Oh, but he's not really met too many people at the moment. I said, oh, I'll come introduce you to my mates. Now I'm living with him next year. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's a great connection I've got. You know, you've met him. We had a little night out with him one time. That was good fun.
He's the one who inspired me to learn Portuguese, by the way. Like that, you know, when we were in the pub in Newcastle, right? and I heard him and his friend talking, I was like, I want to tag in on this. Not only do I want to know what him and his mate are saying, but I wanna know this language, man. It's beautiful. So shout out to Isaac.
Hopefully I'll pick some up when I'm living there next year with him.
Do it. You're gonna have
Not
to.
in Portugal, but in our uni house. But also this week I'm going to be coaching with Ryan. I'm going to be taking the Jamie Martin role.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
My reign at that club is rather legendary. I did 4 sessions. So you got big boots to fill, Dan. I'm going to be honest. 4 bloody sessions. But what I will say is, Dan, obviously we've spoken about this. So from a football perspective, if you don't like football, stay chimed for a minute because it can apply to different things. But you have a good knowledge of football coaching. But me and you are on the different ends of the spectrum age-wise, because I've always coached the younger, so like 15 and down, whereas you've coached the older lads, and they present their own challenges. Because with kids, I would say if you're trying to teach them a football tactic or a way of playing football, it's much easier. They haven't got a clue. Most of them don't watch football, which I think is a societal issue. I think football is too expensive, and as a country, we're going to miss out on people wanting to play football because of it. But I won't rant about that.
I was about to say, looks like you're about to
I
start.
won't rant about that. That's a separate thing for me. But from an adult point of view, getting them to play a certain way is much more difficult because there's a natural friction. They know how they enjoy football. You've played football with me, bro. I prefer a much slower build-up. I like to play out from the back, score some good goals and all that. But on a serious note, as adults, we all have our own versions of how football should look. So when you try and tell them how to play as an adult their own age or a bit younger, maybe they don't always take to it as well. And I know you had a great group of lads in Newcastle, so I'm not saying that was the case. But there was tense moments, when we were coaching. There was tense moments.
Yeah,
You got to deal with that.
You were there at one of them.
I was there. I remember it well, But the kids' football presents you a different challenge because those kids won't really care what football you're playing. They care about how much time you're giving them. They just want to mess about with their mates. So you've got to keep them focused. I don't know what you guys spoke about in your meeting. I know that they didn't get many bloody drills done. But in fairness, Tom's a really good coach and Ryan too. So are you looking forward to it?
I'm looking forward to the challenge, man. I'm looking forward to talking about it on the podcast, and it's going to be a new experience teaching and coaching with younger kids. So it's going to be interesting. But anything you want to get out before we finish this podcast, brother?
32 minutes. Where did time go? Maybe time does fly. Maybe I was lying. No, not really. I would like to shout out Instagram and just say stop, sharing reels of spiders because I don't appreciate it, mate. As soon as I got here, my algorithm changed. I never get spider videos, man.
That's
crazy, man. All the time.
It's crazy how much our phone knows what's going on.
Oh yeah, crazy. I've got a bit of a disgusting one too, I suppose. It's quite funny. So last night when I was on the flight from Gold Coast to Gold Coast, from Sydney, I felt like I didn't realise I was asleep, and I felt like I was in a bath. I felt really wet, around my chest and stuff, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? I was freaked out, and then I woke up, and I realised that we were going into land, and there was someone shouting me. They were going, "Can you put your seatbelt on? Put your seatbelt on." She kept trying to wake me up, and I wouldn't wake up. She woke me up. I was dribbling all over myself.
No!
I've been in that good of a sleep, right? I've just been dribbling, and mate, my chest, I'm just covered. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what am I doing here? Sorry, pardon me. I was like, oh, for God's sake, what am I doing here? And I'm covered in dribble. And I'm
like, no
baby.
Way.
Literally, I was like,
I realised I never mentioned why I was in a tent at my granddad's. It's because there wasn't enough room in the house. So there wasn't enough room in the house. So me, my cousin, and brother slept in a tent outside for the night. And it was after an Indian.
So you were there too.
Yeah.
Oh mate, so that's why it stunk then. I thought
I'll tell you what,
a
little sleep talking story. Apparently, I woke up and I was asking my little cousin where the supply was.
Supply.
And he thought I was being, because I said, "Oh, you're good, brother," and I spudded him and everything. I was asking him where the supply was and everything, and then went, "Oh, I'll go back to sleep," and I just went back to sleep.
I don't know if I should take good or bad things from that. To be honest,
I do some odd things in my sleep when I'm talking, man. But it's been another great episode. Jamie's in Australia. Life's exciting, man. Life's exciting.
It's different. I'm gonna just quickly plug Jay's Away as well because I want to shameless plug it, but I don't care. Jay's Away _ on Instagram, Jay's Away on YouTube and TikTok. Just drop it a follow, man. If you're thinking about going traveling, I was actually gonna reply to you earlier, but about the video and everything. I was gonna do a vlog of me getting on the plane and everything, but to be completely honest with you, I just wanted to sleep. So
Fair play.
I did not want to vlog that at all. I'll vlog the way home, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to vlog the stuff I really, really want to do. And for other stuff, I'm not. So if you want to see an authentic story of me traveling, enjoying it, crying and all that kind of crap, then drop me a follow. I'd appreciate that. But in the meantime, you've got a more important thing to follow, because you can follow this podcast, not just on Instagram, not just on Twitter, not just on any other social media, but also on Spotify as well. Drop us a follow, click the little notification bell, because what we want to do is we want to get more of you involved with the podcast, and we want to hear what you think. So drop us an email as well, makingitpoddy@gmail.com, or comment. We want to speak to you. And everyone on TikTok, I always give a shout out at the end of the episode to my TikTok people. So shout out to the people on TikTok that sort of troll, but also sort of love us, because it's a love-hate relationship and I love it.
Take care, everybody. That's episode 23 of the Making It podcast. Peace out.
Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Right all night. Feel so right.